Welcome to the Multithreaded Income Podcast, the definitive podcast for savvy professionals who refuse to be bottlenecked by a single revenue stream. I'm your host, Kevin Griffin, and in this space, we explore, dissect, and analyze the strategies that turn your expertise into multiple optimized income streams. If you believe that your knowledge and skills should be leveraged in more ways than just one, you're in the right place. Now, in each episode, I talk to folks just like you and me who are exploring multi-threaded income on their own terms. Don't forget to sign up with us on social media for updates, exclusive content, and to just continue this conversation. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Multi-Threaded Income Podcast. I'm Kevin Griffin. I'm joined by my cohorts, Chad Carter and Sean Marin. How you guys doing today?
Awesome.
Doing well. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah. Well, I know you guys had the opportunity to listen to our last episode with George. I always have trouble saying with his name. Some of these names are so flippin' long that you have to give it a couple tries. I say that as a person whose last name is Griffin, which is just one of the easiest names probably to say ever. But that's not why we're here to talk about last names. We're here to talk about that episode with George and what items we picked up from that conversation. So, Sean, we'll kick it over to you first today. What did you pick up from George's conversation?
The thing that stuck out to me was what he kind of started off with. I think it was early on in the episode where he was mentioning learning new skills with freelancing that you can't learn on your day job. This really resonated with me. So I came up as an engineer in the financial industry. So there was a lot of what we call the legacy code, right? And just a lot of technology in general. I mean, it worked well. It did its job, right? But at the same time, technology moves so fast. So there was a lot of things that I wanted to try and technology that was new or modern or hot and flashy. Kevin, I was a part of the local user group, HamptonRoads.net user group, back when I was in Virginia Beach, as well as going to software conferences. And so hearing a lot about all the new JS frameworks, all the new .NET Core, stuff coming out, and we were always behind. And I know, like at the time, my first job, I was there for 11 years. So, I think I may have done some interviews or two, or when I started to, I noticed just some of the technology that was being asked for, and I was like, man, I would love to have some experience in that technology, but just didn't. So luckily, I had been involved in the startup community, and the user groups. So I was able to learn stuff that way. But then that also led to some side work, right? Another thread of income that came in where every time I took one of those on, I'll be honest, I also took it as an opportunity to learn a new technology. So, which is probably not the best idea when you're trying to learn how to do something new and deliver for a client. But I mean, it was like the easiest path for me to do that. So I remember when Angular first came out. And I bought the book on Angular, and I read the whole book, and then I didn't use it, and I forgot it all. And then I went to go use it like a few months later. I had to go back and relearn the whole thing again. So you got to have something, right, that you can actually work on, some kind of project or something that you can get your hands dirty with as you're learning something, or you'll just forget. There's just too much other stuff going on. So that was one that really resonated with me. I'll also say, well, it kinda helps even at your day job, there might be some opportunities to really lead some of that change and spearhead some of that. I know there's other people probably like you that are wanting to mess with some more modern technology, or just kinda, stay up to date with, even in just simple upgrades, right, of existing technology, even that, like, just not getting behind. And w an opportunity I remember I had at the job, back in the financial industry, there was these things called, like, centers of excellence or communities of excellence. So, I think nowadays they use the term, like, guilds or, community of practice, COPs. You'll hear that a lot in some companies, like, people that are trying to create some kinda community around some technology. So, I always enjoyed getting involved in those because then we could stay up to date, talk shop a little bit about some of the new stuff, find ways maybe we could experiment with some new technology and hopefully use it in our product as well. So, um, I definitely see that what he was resonating with though, as far as using new technology to build your using side gigs, side hustles, other threads of income to learn new technology. Because then, hey, as soon as you do something in that tech, you can put it on your resume. You have experience in it, right? So you could stay up to date really if you don't have that opportunity at your day job.
We see a lot in the user group arena where someone comes in and they say, I've been working every day with .NET Framework 3.5 or .NET Framework 4. And at this point in time, that's 10 years old, if not more. And they're very, very far back in the technology realm where if they were to go find a new job right now, so let's say they got laid off for some reason and they go try to find new work, they're going to run into this case where everyone's like, well, we're looking for .NET 5 and we're looking for .NET 6. Like we're currently current, but you've spent so much time on this old technology that you are not current anymore and you're now behind everyone and you have to spend the time to move up in order to get a new job potentially.
Yeah, it's something that I've found interesting working at a large company one time. It was in 2020, and they're like, we're gonna introduce Agile. Like, that was only came out in 2000. The Agile Manifesto. That was created that in 2000, but in 2020, this massive company was on the bleeding edge is going to start implementing Agile. So, yeah, so being able to take a side gig and take the opportunity, even if you don't have a side gig, just it's really important to keep up on your technical skills, especially you're talking about developers and trying things, but even imagine a lot of other fields as well. It makes sense to keep up to date on things. Um, I think one of the interesting things that I've seen in the past is when people actually go and you'll get a client, like you're talking about, Sean, you get a client and you're doing brand new tech for that client. If you've never touched that tech before, you probably, I would advise against that. Try at least do a project for yourself, something small first, and then you jump into it. But typically, some people might be hearing that and say, well, that's kind of a terrible idea to do some new tech with a new project. But typically the reason why you're doing that new tech is because it is kind of the new thing. And it could take off, maybe it doesn't. I've been burnt by that a lot of times, picking something that ends up, falling to the wayside. But typically the reason why it's of interest to dig into is because there's been a shift in the field and there's a lot of demand for the stack, whatever that happens to be. So definitely don't be afraid to learn something new and to potentially use that in a side hustle that's coming up.
What's interesting is I know George was talking about where he finds his different gigs from, and one of them was TopTal. And I had actually never heard of TopTal until that conversation. I've heard of Upwork, I've heard of People Per Hour, all these little gig services that folks who don't know better, don't have access to development teams, they will go out and they'll say, I need someone to build a script that does something for me, or I need someone to build a small mobile app for a particular task. And they're really good for folks that are just looking to freelance. And because you can go out, find these little, I call them like nickel gigs, because they're not terribly high value, but they're good for building up a portfolio and kind of testing the waters. I actually think they're good for these cases where maybe I don't know a technology stack, but I'm willing to learn it for a lower rate to just get some experience. Things like Upwork or Top Talent like are excellent for that. You can go in, say, I'll write your little application and I'm going to try this thing I've never done before and you'll pay me less for it per hour, but I get to learn something in the long run. You have hopefully had a satisfied customer, but you have also picked up a new skill that you can take on and use somewhere else.
I have done that many times on the I don't have time for a job right now, but I'll take the job and go hire help to help me finish it. So I think that's actually important as someone that actually has done a lot of software engineering for a long time, and then I could build it myself, right? But there's value in me also leading that project for someone like a client potentially. Like there could be a client I deal with that all the time currently, where I might have a friend that has a business and they're looking to get some web development done or something rebuilt. It's not really worth it for me, with my time and the other projects I have going on right now, to stop everything and be able to deliver that for them. But they still see a lot of value in me helping them along that journey, and like I'll come out and just say, hey, I need to hire some help to do this. I don't have the time right now, but I'll take the job from you. I'll take a little margin from it, and I'll oversee the work, make sure it gets done right, because I know software, and then I'll go and I'll outsource that, maybe to someone on Upwork or People Per Hour or Fiverr, the ones I've used in the past, and then deliver jobs that way. It's kind of like you're building like your own little mini software development firm in a way, right? Like kind of getting started there. And I've even told students that as well. As they're still, maybe in college or even in high school sometimes nowadays, really, and they're looking to get their first job, right? I know as a manager, hiring, I'm always looking for experience. Like, I don't care what university you went to. I don't care what your degree is. I mean, well, it's got to be, somewhat tech, right? Or computer related. But really, the thing I value the most, I'll be honest, is experience. What did you work? What technology did you work in last? How long have you done it, and such? And I tell some students, I say, look, you can go on Upwork and get a small job and just start getting some basic experience, and then you put it on your resume. You have done it. You have gotten paid for work in a certain stack, right? So it's a good way just to start building your resume, but also a good way to pick up some gigs on the side. I haven't heard of TopTal also, so it was interesting to hear that one. I wonder if they pay a little bit better premiums. I went on their site. It said like the top 3% of talent. Uh, Chad, I think you've used it before, right? You know
I've
anything
not
about?
I've not actually utilized it. I've just seen it advertised like crazy for the last multiple years, probably 3 or 4 years, something like that. And but what what I found intriguing about it was the fact that they require you to take a test, and they tried to determine how proficient you are in these different technology stacks that you want to, get a job for, if you will. And so, as somebody hiring them, you want to, see how they performed on this and determine if that's somebody you'd actually want to do. It almost weeds out what we were just talking about of, hey, I'm going to go learn this stack on a client. It's like, the clients that are using TopTal for the most part, it's like, I don't need folks who are just starting out. I'm willing to pay a top tier because I need something very specific done, and I want it done as fast as possible. And I'm willing to kind of pay for that. So that's typically, from what I've seen, is the folks that are kind of geared up for the TopTal.
It's also worth noting, we didn't really talk about this in the previous commentaries we've done, but when we had Brett Fisher on, Brett Fisher did a lot of his initial freelancing from it was Odesk at the time, and then I think that got bought by Upwork or transitioned to Upwork. What he would do is he would go on and he would pick up these jobs. He would do a really, really good work and he would deliver. And he would rinse repeat with these various clients. And a lot of these various clients would turn into not Odesk customers anymore. They would set up personal arrangements with Brett. So he would go work for them and Odesk wouldn't take a cut anymore. And those would turn into bigger and bigger clients that would give him more and more work. He became a trusted authority with them. What's funny is, as a person who has been consulting primarily for my income for the past 12, 13 years, I have never used one of these services. All my consulting work has always come from word of mouth, from networking, just people I know. It's one of the biggest reasons I push networking, period, because whenever I'm looking for work, I just put out a note to folks that I know in my network, and usually I find something. The stuff I'm currently working on now that I've worked on for the past 7, 8 years is work I picked up from a friend of a friend. And it's funny how that networking stuff can really help you in the long run. So I'm a huge advocate of that. But I could also see, if I didn't have that network to fall back to, I could see myself going to something like Upwork or TopTal and trying to just find something through all the folks out there with a need. There's plenty of work, and we're always told there's not enough workers. So there's opportunity when that happens to go out and find something to do. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up there. Thank you for hanging out with me. It was a good conversation with George. and I'm glad he was able to offer a little bit of insights for us to talk about. And we will see you next time on the next episode of the Multi-Threaded Income Podcast. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. Thanks for listening to the Multi-Threaded Income Podcast. I've been your host, Kevin Griffin. Please reach out to us on social media at MT Income, wherever you get your socials from. And feel free to join one of our upcoming challenges at multithreadedincome.com. We'll see you next time.